Hello YouTubers, Alaska Prepper here. A lot of you asked for another thought experiment, so here it goes. I hope the title didn't freak anyone out this time. Okay, so what are you going to do if we have a crisis that is lengthy enough to where your food runs out and we go through a year without a summer? What are you going to do? I think that's a really tough question. Okay, so what ideas do you all have? What will you do if your food runs out? Because the food that we prep will only last so many days, months, and even years before it runs out if we are not able to produce more food. Oh, just a second, ladies and gentlemen. My alarm went off. So, one of the things I was thinking is, what's the first thing to go? Well, people will probably go out and scavenge and get as much, I would say, forestry, you know, or things from the forest, things from the countryside, etc., that they can get. They'll even start eating grass, maybe, and eventually their pets will cease to exist. And I understand some of you will say, there is no way that I would ever consume a pet. Well, I would say that if you're one of the people that say that, because I know a couple of people like that, their pets are like their children. Okay, my dogs, the dogs that we have, Dog and Bella, we love them and they are part of our family, but they are here to inform us if there's someone on our property that doesn't belong here. Okay, so if we have a friend that's coming over and it's the first time that they've come over, we make sure that we introduce them to the dogs. That way the dogs can smell them and that the dogs know that they have been invited. You know, a dog can tell when you're telling them, hey, this is our friend. Why? Because you are being friendly with them. You know, they're not attacking you, etc. And even though our dogs, Dog and Bella, even though they look like they're very, very nice dogs, as far as not being aggressive, because they're not aggressive with us at all. I mean, I could probably do anything I wanted to one of those dogs, you know, and they wouldn't resist, you know, because they love us. And, you know, just for your information, I would never abuse them. I love those dogs, you know, and my family loves them. So, but I have seen it where they turn on someone who walks on our property who they're not familiar with. And this is kind of funny. The first time we noticed this, because we don't get that many unexpected visitors, the first time we noticed this was the first year that we were here. The people from the county tax assessors, they walked onto our property, and our dogs, they were, you know, it was during the summer months, or, you know, maybe the spring, maybe closer to the fall than the summer, because it was already starting to get a little bit chilly. But we were outside working, and I was outside, and little Miss Alaska Prepper was outside, and Miss Alaska Prepper was inside the house, but we had the door open because it was a nice day. It wasn't really cold outside. And the dogs, all of a sudden, their hair on the back of their head just stood up, and they just started growling and barking and like running towards the two county employees that were coming over here to assess our property value. And I had to tell them to stop. And I don't tell them to stop, I just say get over here. Wherever they're at, if I say get over here, if they're running at a dead sprint, as soon as I said get over here, they come right to where I'm at. Even if they can't see me, they'll come right to where I'm at. So we've seen them get aggressive like that. So, you know, like I said, when people say, I digress, I guess. I went off note there. But when people say that they would not consume their pet, it's because they've never been in a situation, or they haven't had that honest discussion with themselves. Right? So have that honest discussion with yourself. What would you do, or what will you do if the food runs out? All right? And maybe we had a year without a summer where no vegetation grew that year. You know, what are some of the things that you think you could do to prevent from having to do the unthinkable? You know, we've all, well, maybe not all of us, but, you know, some have read the stories that they have in the Bible about what people do when there's absolutely no food, you know. And even that, what's even scarier about that is that, you know, in the Bible it talks about what some mothers did when they ran out of food. Now, if a mother would do that just to survive, what do you think a father would do? So think about that. What would you do? What kind of ideas? Now, in this thought experiment, we don't have electricity, all right? So the crisis, we're going to go ahead and continue on the path of a grid down situation, okay? Our last thought experiment, what would you do on the first day if you found out that you had 72 hours before a CME strikes the earth? All right, so we're going to go ahead and continue going down the road of a no grid situation. All right, so everything else is pretty much the same. We just don't have a grid and all of the things that come along with not having a working grid. All right, so let me know what you think. I personally, this is a really difficult question, because me personally, if we had absolutely no food left, we had no food production that year, of course the pets would go. Of course we would go foraging. Of course we would go hunting. But the thing is that more than likely almost everyone else has already done that and has already cleared out most of the population, or thinned it out to an extent where it would cost you more energy than the energy that you are bringing back home. So let's say, for example, you go hunting for a half of a day and you expend, let's say, 3,000 calories a day. Let's just say 3,000 calories a day. But you only bring back 2,000 calories worth of food. All right? Maybe you were only able to shoot 2 or 3 birds and a squirrel or something. And you've just expended more calories trying to get that food than what the food is going to supplement you. All right? Not even talking about your family, just yourself, the calories you've expended. So I would see that parents would start to starve themselves and try to get anything that they get for their children at first. I don't know how long that would last. Maybe a parent will continually do that until their demise is realized. Okay? So what do you all think would happen? Or what do you all think? Yeah, also, what do you all think would happen societally? You know, obviously we're going to have a lot of different discussions or different opinions on this. So let me know what you guys think would happen societally, you know, and what would you personally do? Do you think that your own family members would turn against you at a certain time? Obviously, your community is probably going to start becoming more and more divided as the realization that there's not going to be enough food to last is realized as well. Especially, let's say you're getting to, you know, let's say you're getting over a winter and then you realize that the weather is not getting warm enough for you to plant that year, right? And that you know that you only have enough food left to last you till harvest. but then you realize there's not going to be a harvest that year. So, all right, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed this exercise. I hope you enjoyed the examples I gave as far as what I think, you know, would be the first things to go in an event such as that, because we have to learn from history, okay? And we have a perfect lesson to be learned from what's going on in Venezuela, all right? And in other places, as well as I think Sudan, they're having riots because their price of food or bread or flour, something like that, like doubled overnight. So we have good examples to look at that should definitely motivate us to prep as much as we can. Okay, in my opinion, there's never too much. You can always do something else. All right, don't use the excuse that I ran out of room. All right, be creative. All right, try to think outside the box. Okay, like for example, I'm planning on building a prepper room, which is going to be like my own little studio, you know, for when I do videos and things like that. I don't have to do it in the living room where I normally do it now. I can go to my own little studio that will be, I'm thinking about turning it into a huge Faraday cage, believe it or not. But that's a different video for a different day. So when I build the walls, instead of, and it's going to be an interior room to the house, obviously, meaning that it's going to be a room within a room. So so I don't really have to build the walls strong. I could build them with 2x4s because they're not structural walls where they're going to be supporting any of the weight of the house. So I was thinking about building them with 2x4s. Obviously, that's the less expensive option. However, I'm deciding to probably build that wall out of, build a wall that's a huge shelf instead of building an actual wall that just takes up room. So I'm thinking about building a wall to block off my room that's a huge shelf. And the only thing that's going to actually make it a wall is when I have everything on the shelves, it's going to block the sight from the other side of that wall or that shelf. You won't be able to see anything. So it's going to be a work in progress. It's going to be a lot of fun doing that video. I'm hoping to be able to maybe get to that this year coming up. But I do have a lot of things that have to get done this year. So we'll see. But it's going to be pretty interesting. I'm pretty excited about doing that. And be creative. So you see that instead of me just building a wall that takes up room, that really, if you're going to dress your wall on both sides, you're really giving up a lot of room in between that wall. So instead of building a wall that takes up room, why don't you just build a shelving unit that you can use to put your preps, and it can act as a wall as well. So that may not be something that everyone wants to do or is willing to do or can do, but that's what I mean about thinking outside of the box, okay? And another thing that I want to do, since I said that my prepper room, I want to make it a room within a room, is that it's going to have a small loft. So I'm not going to make it extremely tall. I'm going to try to keep the height of the ceiling at just shy of 8 feet high. All right, that'll give me more room. If I put a ceiling on that, it'll give me room on top of the ceiling to be able to store stuff back there, which is airspace that I wasn't using before. So think outside the box on what you can do to prepare as much as you possibly can. Because ladies and gentlemen, this is, and I'm going to go ahead and get off here after I say this. This is a fact. All right, I'm going to give you a fact. It is better to have it and not need it than to need it and not have it. Everyone that has just listened to me say that cannot disagree with what I just said. Why? Because it is a fact. Okay? So if you buy a car and they say, well, it doesn't have a spare tire, you know that it's always going to be on the tip of your head or the tip of your mind saying, man, I really need a spare tire. You're going to be worried about not having a spare tire for that car until you get one. because you're always going to be saying, well, what if I get a flat? You can't really control whether you get a flat or not. Okay, so think outside the box. Think of things that you can do to prep for as long as you possibly can. It's not a waste of money if you have a rotating pantry. Okay, if you have a rotating pantry, you can have a year's worth of foods that you eat on an everyday basis if you have a rotating pantry. And then your long-term food storage that lasts 25, 30, 35 years, you can have that in your long-term food storage area, wherever you store that. Okay, and then if by some miracle, all right, you never had to get into those preps, guess what? In 30 years, when you're 80 years old, you can have awesome parties every weekend. All right, jambalaya. I would be making huge pots of Dominican rice when I'm 80 years old. Okay, so that's the worst that can happen, is that you have food. That's the worst that can happen if you prep a lot. It's that you have food and you have things that you can use in case you need them. So I've seen some comments out there in the past saying this is just a waste of time, it's a waste of money. To each their own. But if you're listening to this, it's probably because you agree that we need to be prepared, or maybe you were curious and you just came onto this video to check it out. And if you did, if you're not subscribed, hit that subscribe button, because right now you're listening to the Alaska Prepper, who is not what makes this community successful, but the community members. I hear, not here, but I see more comments saying that this is such an awesome community because the members in this community are helpful. They want to help each other, all right? And respectful and just good people, all right? That want to be in a community of like-minded people that want to be prepared in case something happens that they can't control. Having said that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining in today. I hope that you are having a very, very happy new year. Okay, I am going to go ahead and release this video for the 1st of January, so it'll be the very first video of 2019. All right, so thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for all of your support. Okay, I will be announcing the next giveaway probably like the first, maybe second week of January. This is going to be a nice giveaway. All right, it's going to be the nicest giveaway I've done. Okay, so I need to wait a little bit before I announce it, and then I'm going to give everyone probably 2 weeks to enter. That way we can have a lot of participants and someone will be lucky and get what's coming up. And of course I'm not going to let you guys know what it is now, but I'm pretty excited about it myself. I really want to get myself one of these before I announce. So I think maybe I'll order me one, and hopefully it'll get here within the next week or so. Having said that, ladies and gentlemen, remember to be good to each other. Remember that when good people do good things happen. Remember to reach one, teach one, and repeat. If we all did this, the world would be a better place, and you know that it will be a better place. Many blessings to every one of you and your families. This is Alaska Prepper, and I'm out.